this is the number one way AI is going to kill your company. So you may be thinking of it as some new chat GPT is going to come out. The robots are going to start installing the roofs, all of these things. That's not the case right now. So what is the case is that your team does not adopt it, or your team fights back, or your team is worried about their job. So as you're bringing in these AI initiatives to improve the process, get some time savings, some cost savings, they're worried about their livelihood. So today we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about overcoming the AI trust gap, talk about building culture and communication around change. My name is Jim Ahlin. I'm the host of the Roofing Success Podcast. I'm here with Rosalynn Verges from the AI Roofing Revolution.
Thanse. Hi,
How's
Jim.
it going?
I'm doing well. How are you?
This is your stuff right here. This is your
This
fave.
is my jam.
This is your fave.
Yep, this is my jam.
People.
People.
Yeah.
I do like people. And I like people to be able to be happy at work. It feels really critical. We spend a lot of our time at our jobs. And so, that's kind of where my career passion started.
Not for long, because AI is going to take over everything.
Everything.
So
yeah, it's going to replace everyone, especially.
Everyone should be worried, especially your employees, because you're going to try to replace them as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm glad we're starting here, right? Because I think that's the vibe, right? That's the feeling that people have. That's the fear that people have, is that AI is going to replace them. We talk about and joke about how AI is going to replace me, and my job and all that I do. But I think more realistically, the people who and the companies who are using and adopting AI are the people who are going to replace the people and companies that are not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really what's going on. So how do we've been talking about implementing AI in your roofing or contracting or home services business.
Yeah.
How do we get there? We've talked about metrics. We've talked about what AI initiatives you should do next, right? Doing SWOT analysis, determining what's next. We talked about some AI math, how to measure it. Now let's talk about how to get your team to buy in.
Yeah.
How do you start the conversation off? How do you start to talk about AI internally without triggering that fear that you're trying to get rid of their job?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, the first piece is really understanding what that trust gap is. Like, what are we talking about, Jim? When we say that. And, one thing, a study I like to kind of harken back to is Workday did a great study earlier this year where they found that 62% of owners and leaders felt like they were confident in how they were going to bring AI to their companies responsibly, and 55% of employees said the same. And so there is a gap there, right? There's a gap in trust. And I think a big starting place for that gap, where that gap becomes a cavern, if you will, is when we don't communicate with our employees. If we don't give them a clear picture of where we're going and how they are a part of that and what you see, what happens in that unknown, uncertain, ambiguous place, that waiting period. Have you ever felt like you're waiting for something to come and you're in limbo?
Yeah.
Do you feel good in your body when you're in limbo? Usually not, right? That's a yucky space for people to be in. But we're doing that in our companies right now by not talking about AI in a way that's clear and consistent and with a plan and purposeful. It's like, oh, we're going to try AI. And then what does that mean? Okay, cool. Am I going to get any training? I know of a particularly very large supplier distributor in our industry that put rules out for their team members on how they could use AI. And said, you can only use our stuff, don't use any other AI products, and then did zero training. And it's just like, oh no, that's maybe not how you want to go about talking about AI to your team members, because it leaves a lot of confusion. And so I think it starts with really communication and how planful you are being in your communication to your employees.
So what's some advice to leaders in a company, whether owners or general managers or C-suite people, in how to bring employees into that conversation?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it really should start again with strategy. I know we've been talking about that again and again and again in the series, but how can you tell your employees where you're trying to go with your AI initiatives if you personally haven't taken time to map that out and think about it? I'm not saying you need to have like a full detailed 100-page report of your strategic plan before you start the conversation with your employees. But I do think you need to start asking yourself some really simple questions like, how is AI going to be a part of your overall business strategy in 2026 and 2027 and 2028? Like, start to think ahead a little bit, but especially for the next year, thinking about what is it going to mean for you? Helping it distill down to some simpler actions and tasks that you want them to participate in and be a part of. So they need to understand how you want them to use AI in their jobs, right? How do you want them to interact with those tools? And they need to understand the guardrails, the banks of the river we talk about, right? Of here's how we don't want you to use AI in your job. And this is how we want you to talk about AI in your job. You know, sometimes we talk about that fear word a lot, and this concept that, you know, if your employees don't feel like they can be honest about using AI, that's a problem. In fact, we teach the opposite at AI Roofing Revolution. When we're going through our trainings, people come into the classes and they get a chance to share use cases and how they're trying AI in their roles, how they're applying it to their workflows. And it becomes super important because the ideas that you have, even though our jobs might be different, they can really spur a lot of creativity and collaboration. And, you know, what we don't want are those shadow AI cases where you're working on something and I'm working on something and they're really similar, but we're both individually problem solving when that could be a company objective that we're working on together. And now it can be applied across the organization.
Yeah.
So I think starting by identifying what your strategy is from an AI standpoint allows you to cast a better vision and invite people to participate in achieving those outcomes, versus just kind of saying like, oh, we're going to add AI and, you know, go full blown on ChatGPT, go get it. You know, what policies do you have? We're going to talk about that more, but I think you have to start by giving them some clear expectations. And then I really believe that one of the most important things you can do is give them the why. You've heard me talk about this. It's anybody who's done coaching with me or has had conversations with me in terms of communication knows about my give them the latte. And so this give them the latte concept is if I go into a coffee shop and I ask for a latte, and that person behind the counter starts talking to me about what's important to them. Like, yeah, sure. But I had to hire this many people today and our beans are on back order and it's just been such a week. And, I'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I feel really bad. But also I'd kind of be like, okay, but can I have my latte? Right. But if that same person behind the counter said, oh, Rosalynn, you're here. Like I got that extra whip on here for you because I know you like that, which is right. I do. A little caramel drizzle. And, I hope you're doing great. And I want you to have a great day. That experience for me is very different. Right. She's approaching me in my why, in what matters to me. And I really believe, Simon Sinek talks about the power of the why and their why. And I really believe that when you're thinking about AI, it's the same concept that you want to be thinking about what's in it for them. What's their why? Why is AI and adopting AI important to them? I have a Lean Six Sigma manufacturing background. And when we were doing lean training, you never wanted to lean somebody out of a job because it makes them resistant to any of your lean principles and your practices that you're trying to do to improve your business. Because why, if I know that the goal is just to take me out, why would I want to participate in that? I'm going to instead do the opposite, right? A kind of similar concept. I see this in the law industry, for example, where they've done hourly billing forever, right? And so now it becomes resistant to be more efficient because my rate is based on my per hour rate. So why would I want to adopt tools or practices that are more effective? Well, now some of the best law firms are actually going toward more of a project-based rate because they want to be able to show that the quality of their work is there. And so again, thinking about your employees, if they feel like the outcome is that you just want to replace them and get rid of their job altogether and you never want to have employees again, while I can appreciate that sentiment on a leadership level of like, it is hard to lead people. That's not a secret, right? That is a challenge in businesses. But that's also the gift that we get to have as leaders. A really good leader embraces that challenge. They work through those challenges. And so I don't think your goal should be trying to get to 0 employees. I think this is kind of when you've gotten through every single item on your someday list and you've accomplished everything you want to do in your business, then go ahead and find me, go ahead and start scaling back people. But until you've accomplished all that you want to accomplish, you probably still need most of the team. Yeah, you're going to need some people. Yeah.
And AI in today's environment is not, it doesn't work without people.
It's not there.
It's not there it's not at a place where it can replace people.
Right.
It can replace some repetitive tasks. It can it has functionality, but I think a lot of, it's not to the place where it's can replace people. Oh, who knows? Maybe there's an update to something and, Chat GPT or something, and all of a sudden it can take over everything. But at this point, it can't.
Yeah.
And the best uses of AI are a human interacting with AI, using AI, even if they're not using it for the exact outcome. Mm-hmm. From a marketing perspective, from an ideation perspective, hey, ChatGPT, write me some hooks for this social media post that I'm going to do. You might not even use one of those hooks, but it may spark the idea in what hook you do use, right? Now, other things you need to be more precise. You'll need it to be more precise in analyzing or job costing and doing things that are more precise. So it may not spark the idea, but then you need precision there. So you need a person involved to make sure that it's precise, right?
Yeah.
And so,
well, we talked about in a past episode too, Jim, this concept of human in the loop. So even if we get to a place where you've got AI checking AI, right?
Yes.
Doing that precision work, and you've got all of those pieces in place, at what point is you probably still have some type of oversight, as we talked about kind of this idea of imagining the future of AI and kind of reimagining the org chart. It's likely in the future that we will have people who are responsible for kind of overseeing AI agents, AI tools, and that, management in your organization might look different. And I really do believe that we're going to continue to desire human interaction, those human touches. And so I think it might look different. And your roles will rearrange and, might work differently. But if you've got good quality people on your team that have done a great job for you and in your organization, those are people that we should be looking to upskill, that we should be looking to bring along with us, and hopefully looking to give back to them. If in the past you've, worked 5-day work weeks, I don't think it's unreasonable to think that, hey, maybe someday you could get to a place where your employees are working 3 days a week instead. And, they've been a part of that journey and they deserve that. Now, if your major headache and your major reason for saying I just can't wait to replace everyone on my team, to me, just setting all of the AI stuff aside, that's like a refinery conversation, right? That's a people leadership and people management problem. You should probably be terming those people out of your organization, or they need more training and leadership support. If that's your headache and your rub and your reason for, never having employees again, you probably have some leadership lift to do.
Yeah, definitely. What are some other things that they can think about around this?
Yeah, I think really, again, coming back to what your vision is for how you want your organization to look, because it may look different as you've gone through that AI strategy and planning. We talked about kind of AI opportunity in that conversation when we were talking about the SWOT analysis. So if you're thinking about your AI opportunity, your business might actually start to look a little different than it originally did. And I think you should bring your employees in on that conversation and help them, let them help be a part of that conversation. Again, the right people. I would also be really careful about flavor of the daying your employees. So don't dive right into all of the different AI tech tools and, adding all the stuff. And we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And we're going to, change the world. I'm excited for you. They're excited for you. But they've also probably gone through that fatigue of, changing objectives and priorities. And so your employees are going to be more likely to adopt and adapt if you are responsible in how you're bringing AI solutions to your company.
Yeah, and that's the big thing on takeaway from this episode is be responsible. Make sure you have a plan. Communicate that plan effectively. Then once your team is focused and aligned, now you can work on keeping AI used responsibly in your company. And that's what we're going to talk about on the next episode, which is the AI governance and security.
Yeah.
Because boy, your data is at risk in a lot of ways when using these AI tools. So tune in for the next episode and we'll see you there.